Welcome to Book Tease. I'm your host, Jamie, and this is the podcast that celebrates the power of well-written smut. June is our sexy murder month, so we are covering morally gray main characters and all kinds of fun things. We are questioning our very sanity this month, and it's honestly been a blast. Just as a reminder, this podcast does contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the book this week, then you might want to pause, read the book, and come back, because I do spoil the entire book. There's no holding back. I just go for it, and I give you the plot lines, and I give you my favorite quotes, and I give you casting, and you'll know exactly what's going on in this book by the end of this episode. So if you don't want to be spoiled, pause, read the book, and come back. The book this week is There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, and it is book 1 in the Sinners Duet. This has been on my TBR. I've heard good things about it, and we will see if it holds up to the hype. Spoiler alert, I don't think it did. I didn't hate the book. Just before we even go on, but it's not a 5-star. We'll just say that. Every book this month does have a trigger warning because we are, sexy murder. So it's fair to say there's some sort of murder going on in every book this month. So the trigger warnings for this book are murder, of course, torture, stalking, kidnapping, child abuse is mentioned, dubious consent, just CNC. Just stop right there. A funny story. My husband and I own a custom cabinet shop, and we have a CNC machine. So when I first saw CNC as a trigger warning and it wasn't actually written out what that means, I was very confused. I was like, what is that? What is a CNC? I know what it is in relation to a machine that cuts parts for you. But CNC means consensual, non-consensual. So dubious consent. That's just a funny little side note. And the last trigger warning for this book is self-harm is mentioned. This book is also available on Kindle Unlimited for all my Kindle Unlimited babes out there, because I know I'm one, and I love reading a good book that is included in my membership and not having to spend extra money for a book. It's awesome. There's a crazy amount on there, and this book is one of them. So let's get into it. We have Cole Blackwell is our main male character. Our MMC is Cole Blackwell. He is rich, and he is very rich, and he is an established artist. And I have a lot to say about Cole. Needless to say, he did not make it into my book boyfriends list. But I don't think he gives a shit about that. Honestly, I don't think Cole Blackwell gives a shit about anything that isn't him, that isn't himself. He is in competition with Alistair Shaw, who is another rich, established artist. They're just kind of like fire and ice, light and dark, I guess, except they're both serial killers. So they're both artists, they're both well-established, they're both highly popular and famous artists, and they are both serial killers. I mean, what are the odds? But that's what we have in this book. And they basically take turns winning different art competitions and reaching acclaim, and they're always trying to one-up each other. And they both know their secret about being serial killers. How? I don't know. We don't get that backstory. We just know that they are in direct competition with each other. Now, they are total opposites. Despite all they have in common, they are total opposites. Alistair Shaw is blonde. He looks like he should be in a prep school rowing club situation, blonde hair, dimple, very charming. and he's a painter. But when he kills strictly women, and he does it in like a crazy way. Like he beats them to death, cuts them up, rapes. I mean, this is his outlet for going crazy, because otherwise he's known as being a very charming, charismatic guy. And then he has to go lose his mind a bit and beat someone to oblivion in order to keep his cool, I guess, question mark. And then Cole Blackwell is his opposite. He is highly controlled, not charismatic at all. He has no problem being a complete asshole to literally everyone. Got dark hair, like brunette, black hair situation. And he's known as being kind of like a loner. He does sculptures, and when he kills, he's very controlled about it. It is very well planned. He has not yet killed a woman. It is not a fit of passion. It is just something he does, and he a lot of times incorporates it into his art. In the book, he kills this art critic who's kind of an ass to him. He's very arrogant. And Cole Blackwell's just sick of dealing with him. So he kills him, and he just said, because I wanted to. And he uses his bones in a sculpture that he does. So that just kind of gives you a little backstory about these two. And we're starting with these two and totally ignoring the FMC, because it feels like this book is a love story between these two guys, because everything they do is with the other in mind, as far as like competition. So it feels like in this book, the FMC is just kind of an afterthought. Let's go ahead and talk about the FMC. Mara Eldridge is a starving artist. She's very artsy. She's in her 20s. She's very, very thin, very skinny. But she's apparently got this like energy, just this manic energy. I don't know. But she has several jobs. She's just trying to stay afloat. She lives in a house with like several other poor, starving artists. And yeah, that's Mara. She is doesn't even have a niche in her artwork. She likes to just do all different kinds of things. She's worked in textiles. She's worked painting. She has worked in collages, all different types. She can't find it in her to whittle it down to just, to mastering one. And she has several different jobs. She's a dog walker. She works at this place that does brunch. So anyway, that's what she does. And we learn very early on in the book that she has unresolved childhood trauma. She had a rough childhood. Her mother was abusive emotionally. Then she had a stepfather who was abusive physically and borderline sexually. I don't think he took it all the way, but there is definitely some sexual abuse going in there. Like he likes to spank her with no panties on, but I don't think he actually molests her other than that. I don't know. It's all very gray. I will say with this book and things being kind of noir, in the dark, faded, kind of, this book is very artsy written. It was like reading an art film. Everything's nuanced, and it's all about describing the lighting, and it's like and I'm going to go ahead and say I wouldn't give a shit about watching this as a movie, because I feel like that's how it would have to be done, and it would be one of those films that people are sitting around talking about the level of cinematography and how it contributed to the overall structure of the movie, and who cares about the plot, because it's all about how it's shot. And I feel like that's what's going on in this book. It's emphasizes the art community and the artwork that they are doing and the competition in the art world and breaking into the art world. And then like there's these scenes where it's like you're getting, I'll give you an example. That's the easiest way I can do. There is a scene, because I'm jumping ahead and letting you know Cole is a stalker. Once he gets obsessed with Mara, he stalks her. So he rents the building right across from where she lives because he can. He has the money to do so. And so he posts up in there like he has nothing else to do with his day with his binoculars. And he sits there and just watches her sleep because it's hot during the summer. So she sleeps outside because she can't afford to buy a fan, ? I don't know. But she's sleeping outside and then it rains. And instead of pulling her mattress inside out of the rain, because if you're going to be practical, having your mattress be completely soaked by rainfall will likely ruin it. How are you going to dry it out completely? Then you're going to have mold inside and it's just going to be stinky and icky to lay on. But we're just going to ignore that for this visual. She's laying out on her balcony on her mattress. There's a downpour of heavy rainfall. And instead of going inside, and she's naked because she wants to sleep naked outside on her mattress. Then the rain, and so instead she like arches up into the rain and fervently masturbates, and he's watching her, and it describes the angles of her body and the lighting of the thunder or the lightning. And it's just, it's supposed to be hot. And I couldn't get out of my head thinking about how impractical it is what she's doing. So there you go. But we had great, beautiful visuals, right? And okay, that's just an example of why I didn't like the book and why I think it would make a movie. That wouldn't interest me. It would interest someone, but not me. So here we go. Let's bump into the plot here. Mara goes to an art showing, and both Cole and Shaw, or Alistair, they're there. Okay? They're both there, and this is where we get the kind of intro of the two and how they are well established with knowing each other, because they're like, Cole's like, oh, I saw what you did, because there was someone in the news who got killed in Shaw's MO. And he's like, I know you did it. You're so classless and I'm so much better than you because I'm finessed. And Shaw, honestly, rightfully is like, dude, we're the same. So he's annoyed with Cole at this point. And Cole sees Mara, and Cole is really like set up and described as being a sociopath. He has muted emotion. He doesn't understand a lot of emotions. He understands emotions like rage and annoyance and irritation. He understands the negative emotions, the really strong ones, but he doesn't understand the more nuanced empathy, he knows about them academically, but he doesn't really understand them. Any display he puts on of sympathy, empathy, anything like that is purely an imitation of what he has studied. He is set up as being a clinical sociopath, and that's how we're supposed to understand him. He thinks he's his own god. He only cares about things in relation to himself, very arrogant. He's the center of his own world. Everyone else is a tool to be used to further his own well-being. That's how Cole is set up. He notices Mara because she's at the buffet table getting some yummy treats because she's a starving artist, and yay, I'm going to get some free yummy treats at this art showing. And he just kind of disregards her as a skinny young artist typical. Of course, they're here trying to get food for free. You know, that's his inner thought process. And then this guy is arrogant. The guy he ends up killing, the arrogant art critic, bumps into Mara and spills red wine all over her dress and doesn't even apologize or say, excuse me. He's just like, oh. So this catches Cole's attention, the fact that she doesn't trip out or say anything. She's just casually leaves and then comes back, and she has taken wine and like did a tie-dye textile pattern on her dress so that it actually looked cool. I'm guessing she dried it under the, I don't know. You know what? Here I go being practical again. Whatever. She ends up tie-dyeing her dress in wine and making a cool pattern, and he is like, huh. And it kind of like intrigues him a little bit, I guess. And Shaw notices Cole noticing Mara. And he decides, okay, I really want to get Cole's attention and prove to him that we are cut from the same cloth, even though Cole thinks he's so much better than me. So he targets Mara and he kidnaps her after the showing, and he pierces her nipples, both of them, puts her in some kind of weird bondage outfit, drives her out to Cole's preferred dumping ground, which is like in the hills, and there's mines there or something, and it's very deserted. Nobody ever goes there. And so Cole loves dumping his bodies out off in these mines. And I guess Shaw knows that. So he drags her out there and he slices her wrists and leaves her to bleed out as a gift for Cole. Because they're just so cute and romantic together. Even though we're not to believe that they have any attraction or feelings towards each other other than annoyance and arrogance and wanting to be superior over the other. But honestly, this book would have been way more interesting if the romance was between these two. Just throwing that out there, because that's how I feel about it. I'm just digressing all over the place. But luckily, Cole decided to kill that art critic, and then he went to dump the rest of his body in the mines. And when he did, he finds Mara still alive, but her wrists are cut. She's bleeding out, and she's in this bondage outfit with her boobs out on display, and both nipples are pierced, and I'm pretty sure she's mostly naked. Like, it does mention her pussy being out to the winds. So I'm guessing he's like, I'm serving her up to you because you are all about how you don't kill women and you don't act out of passion. And so you notice this chick and I noticed you noticing her. So now I'm going to tempt you into killing a woman or tempt you into acting out of passion. And Cole is tempted. He's tempted and he's like, really turned on by this display, and he kind of wants to go ahead and kill her the rest of the way. He kind of wants to take his way with her, but he refrains and instead very coldly steps over her and leaves, and just leaves her to bleed out and die. Isn't that how the best romances begin? Oh my God. So anyway, she is like in my hallucinating. She's lost a shit ton of blood at this point. And she's like thinking he's some sort of dark angel. Well, she's so irritated. Like, I can't believe this guy's just going to leave me here. So she decides to muster up the strength despite the extreme dizziness. And y'all, this was very much described on page. I was starting to feel a little ick. Like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel like I'm losing blood and blah. You know, that's how I was starting to feel reading this. It's very graphic. But she manages to stumble to the street just as a car is coming and gets rescued. Well, she's back at work serving brunch just a few months later. Like seemingly No reaction. She went to the cop. They did not believe her that she was kidnapped because she has scars from previous self-harm on her wrists. And so this asshole cop, even though her nipples have been pierced, she's clearly in distress, dirty. She is like clearly been through something. He's like, oh, you just tried to kill yourself because look, you have scars on your wrist from self-harming previously. So she does have trouble sleeping by herself outside for a little bit. And other than that, it's like, it seems to just be, she has no lingering issues. It's just business as usual. She's back at work. And she ends up going to an art show and Cole sees her and she sees him and she's like, that's the angel that left me to die, or angel of death. And he's like, holy fuck, she survived? How'd she survive? I just assumed she died and they hadn't found the body yet. So this really intrigues him. How did she end up surviving? And from here, he becomes absolutely obsessed. He becomes obsessed with her because she didn't die. And once he becomes obsessed with her, he starts stalking her. Like I mentioned, he ends up going into her room and smelling dirty underwear of hers and then ejaculates in those panties and then just leaves them in the floor. This nasty girl here comes home, realizes she has no clean panties, picks up these dirty underwear to put on to go on a date, gets cum on her and is like, oh my God, how freaky. And then doesn't ever question it or any of her roommates about what the actual fuck. And then she's like, oh, maybe that's discharge that hasn't dried. Excuse me, even if you pissed your pants, if they've been sitting on your floor all day, they would have dried by now. What the, you know what? Oh my God. So anyway, all that happens. And he's stalking her and he's following her around. And the more he is becoming more and more intrigued by her, the more he is thinking she's beautiful and he's noticing these little things about her and he's starting to just really, really become infatuated. He integrates himself into her life by forming a whole scholarship for burgeoning artists just so she could win it. And it's all his money. And then also having his assistant reach out to her like she had applied for this studio when she didn't. And he owns it and he's like, rent it to her at a discounted rate and say that it's just a thing that we do for new artists sometimes and like all these little things. And then he has a camera in the studio that he's renting to her so he can watch her. She realizes it. Because he's not staying hidden or subtle about any of the stalking. And she's like, well, he's helping me out. So I guess she's just okay with it. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. He helps her get her foot in the door of the art world and get a show. And she paints this big, beautiful thing. And anyway, she's challenging him because she has no fear, apparently. Like, she knows that he's very cold. She knows that he is in control. She knows that he is stalking her. She knows all this stuff, and she still, like, needles him sometimes. I don't know. It's a strange dynamic. Like I said, she has no lingering issues from being kidnapped by someone she's not. And for a while, she even thinks it's him. She thinks he's the one who kidnapped her and nearly killed her. And I guess she's still so desperate to get into the art world that she just overlooks that. And she questions him about it a couple of times and just takes what he says. And it's very strange. That's my overall take, is this book is very, very strange to me. He debates killing her right up until the end of the book, y'all. Like, we're supposed to believe this is a romance novel and that this is some sort of dark romance. Well, even with dark romances, I mean, he really debates killing her right up until the end. he has no feeling and she has an abundance of feeling. So he starts to just kind of feel by proxy. And that's another thing that draws him to her. Again, everything from his perspective, every feeling he has, everything is self-serving completely. Even when they have sex, it is dubious consent. Let's talk about the intimacy levels here. After her showing goes really well, she's getting to know him. He has forced her to get to know him. She shows up at her place at work. He follows her around, all this stuff. He talks to her. He forces her to talk to him. He forces her to tell him about all her childhood traumas. Like, he loves hearing about her abuse that she dealt with because she's so emotional about it. It's like he's soaking up the emotion from her. And she's starting to feel close to him. Form of Stockholm syndrome, maybe. I don't know. But they have a heated moment where she drops to her knees like she's going to give him a blowjob. And they realize that the room is occupied by an art critic or someone that was there. And he's looking, and Cole embarrasses her by saying, hey, while she's down there, while she's at it, I'm sure she wouldn't mind getting you off too. And he's doing it to push the envelope and see how far he can go, but it embarrasses her and it pisses her off. So she runs off. She's like, fuck you. I was actually genuinely interested, but I'm no one's whore. And so she runs off, and she ends up pulling this tattoo artist. It's a friend of a friend. He's the one who did her tattoo. She doesn't really know him outside of that. She pulls him off, brings him to her studio that she's renting from Cole, and bangs him very performatively so that Cole could see it on his camera that he's watching, because she knows he's watching. And then they even like do it all over this blank canvas with paint and make this weird picture. And then she takes this painting and hangs it up in Cole's office that's in the same building as kind of a fuck you to him. And he likes it. I mean, he pisses him off. He wrecks his office. But at the same time, he is like, she's got guts. I like that about her. It makes him more intrigued. His response to that is confronting the tattoo artist, saying, she's mine. How dare you fuck her? And the guy's like, I had no idea. And instead of killing him, which he was very close to doing, he takes his tattoo equipment, ties her up in the studio, and forces a tattoo on her. He's like, I'm going to make your tattoo better. That way you're wearing my mark on your skin and not this random guy's. And then after he does that, he makes her give him a tattoo so he can wear her mark on his skin. But at this point, he's doing this. He still hasn't decided if he's going to let her live or not. So I don't know, man. At some point, he drops the masks, because he always has a mask. He always is presenting himself as somewhat okay to society. So he, at some point, decides to tell her that he's a killer, and he says it without saying, and just drops the mask so she can see how cold and unfeeling he really is. It freaks her out, but then she decides to accept it, and she accepts his invite to go see his studio, which he's never shown anybody. He's got some works in progress or failed artworks there, all this stuff, and he actually cares about what her perception of them would be and what she would think if they would be salvageable. He's like, I like her artist's eye, essentially. And so he invites her there. And this is where they have the dubious consent sex. And he ties her up and forces her to have multiple orgasms, y'all. An insanely painful amount of orgasms. He hadn't decided if he was going to kill her or not at this point, and I honestly thought the man was going to kill her via orgasm. That was his plan, because your body can't take all that, dude. Like, he made a vibrator specifically for her and tied her up and gave her orgasm after orgasm after orgasm with it. I mean, relentlessly, That's not all he does. I'll go ahead and finish, and then I'll tell you what I thought about this whole thing. Orgasm after orgasm, she loses counts. It's insane. It's described as this is happening repeatedly for hours. He fucks her. He has sex with her. Then he, and they're describing it as he is just going to town, like pounding it. And then he forces anal on her, which she's never had. And I guess he loves that there's a pain aspect to it. And he's still forcing orgasms with this vibrator. So even though it's painful for her and she didn't want the anal, I guess because she's having multiple orgasms still and is not even in her own head, it's supposed to be conceived as okay. And then when he finally unties her, apparently she's so far gone, she rides him doing anal. And I mean, if this is your first time ever, that's an advanced move. I'm sorry. I don't know. This whole thing was weird. All I could think is this girl's going to get a yeast infection for real. UTI is oncoming. I mean, like, are you serious? The oversensitivity of multiple orgasms with a vibrator. This was not sexy to me. This was uncomfortable and gave me the ick. I was just like, I can't. And this is the one and only time they have sex in the book. Afterwards, they take a shower and then watch a movie. They watch The Labyrinth. What the fuck? And that's supposed to be sweet, like a cuddle afterwards. I wouldn't even want to look at this dude. I'd be like, don't touch me. I can't even feel my lower body. Fuck you, But apparently it's okay because they cuddled and watched The Labyrinth. Well, while they're doing that, Shaw has realized she's alive. He has figured out that she's alive some kind of way and that Cole is obsessed with her. Since he can't get to her, she's at Cole's studio. He gets her best friend and kills her best friend, who's also her roommate. So when she goes home after this orgasm fest, she goes into her room and her friend is laying there dead, posed as Ophelia. The artwork Ophelia, the same one Taylor Swift references in her Fate of Ophelia video. So she's been drowned and her hair's wet and she's got wildflowers and she's posed just like Ophelia. And she goes and actually calls the cops who did not believe her. And she tells the cops, it's Shaw, he did it. He's the one who kidnapped me, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to believe you. This famous artist is fucking with you. Like, give me a break. Cole told her that the cops wouldn't believe her and that there was nothing he can do because even if they did, Shaw has influence, Shaw has power, Shaw has money. There's no way she's gonna get chosen over him. But she just chooses to be naive and ignore him. And so now Cole's upset and he's like, Shaw's gonna kill you. There's nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. You have to let me, because he has decided to keep her. He likes her at this point, or at least he's getting something out of this relationship for now. And so he convinces her to move to his house. And that's where the book ends. I did not realize this was going to be a book that ends on a cliffhanger and then you got to pick up the second book to finish the whole story. I did not realize that. I'm probably going to because I feel invested enough that I'm like, okay, I need to know how this ends because honestly, I'm still holding out hope that Mara just gets to go live her life and then Shaw and Cole get together, have some explosive sex, and then kill each other. That's what I'm hoping actually happens in the second book. Can't say it will. I have no idea, but it's not likely that that's what's going to happen, but that's how I think it should end. I think that would be the most interesting way for the book to end. My overall take, y'all, is that this book is weird. I didn't care for it. I didn't find Cole sexy. I don't believe he's capable of love. I don't think this is a lasting relationship or something that I really need to invest energy or the energy to give a shit about, honestly, because he only does things as much as they interest him. He's only going to keep her around as long as she's interesting or he feels like he's getting something out of it. That's what I think based on how his character. Now, maybe there will be a big character shift in the second book and it'll blow my mind and I'll be like, oh, okay. Now I believe it, because this is a book that has been recommended as a good series to me. And it's a duology. So there's just the two. So maybe in the second half, something will pop off where he has a break and she becomes more to him, because right now she's just an interesting distraction and he likes her artist's eye and everything he does for her benefits him. He has her being his protege, which now, since they're linked together, she is a talented artist. Any success she has will be a benefit to him now. It's kind of hard to invest in this type of dynamic. And Cole is insanely arrogant. He's not kind to anybody. He doesn't even pretend to be, even to his own assistant, who's arguably one of the closer people to him. He is not even nice to her. He's just, yeah. He's just an ass. And Mara is supposed to be like, she's emotionally damaged. She's been through a lot and she's got an abundance of emotion, and we're supposed to believe that she's going to find a way to be infatuated with this guy. Other than the way he's been helping her break into the art world, have a nice studio, things like that, I don't even see how she would love him. Okay, on to my ratings. I'm giving this one a 2.5. I felt it was very average. It was not terrible. It wasn't the worst book I've ever read. I didn't hate it. But at the same time, it wasn't a book that I found really interesting. There's nothing I'm like, there was a lot of things that irritated me. I'm not like holding on to, oh, but this was really interesting or good. I'm not finding that here. In fact, I feel like in a month, I'm going to forget all about this book. That's how I feel. There was nothing that really stood out as great and interesting, and I'll probably forget about it in a month. So I'm going to give it a totally average rating. The spice, I would say, is a 3. There's not a lot of sex. There is a lot of talking about wanting sex or talking about the obsession and thinking about her. There's a lot of masturbation. And then there's a couple of scenes where he forces an orgasm. He loves to force an orgasm. And then there's the big sex scene that I've already described. And that's it. It is a little graphic when we do get sex. It's some of it, like I said, gave me the ick, but the sex is more intense than hot to me. And so I'm giving the spice a 3. And I'm sure that's something, I mean, those tropes, the dubious consent, the consensual, non-consensual, though I'm going to full up say the anal was non-consensual. She straight up said, no, I've never done that. She was tied up. So what's she going to do? But, I mean, people like that. Some people really like that. It just happens to not be something that I'm into. It's just not for me. Okay. Here are my quotes. This is Cole. I feel no sympathy, no guilt. Those are emotions I've never experienced. I'm aware academically of the full range of human emotions. I've studied them intently so I can mimic their effects, but they have no power over me. What I do feel, I feel intensely: rage, revulsion, and pleasure. Which is a clinical sociopath. The inability, because of the chemicals and the way your brain is set up or wired, the inability to feel certain emotions, the more nuanced type of emotions. You can feel the powerful ones: rage, anger, revulsion, pleasure. That stuff you can feel. But as for the more nuanced empathy, the more learned emotions is what it's described as. It's harder to feel. The ones that are how you treat other people, the ones that aren't hardwired in, that you don't just automatically feel as a toddler, the ones that you have to learn through social dynamics, those are the ones that clinical sociopaths have trouble mastering, have trouble learning. There's a disconnect. And Cole is described as a sociopath. But not all sociopaths can go on to be psychopaths and not falling in love and just being killers. And that's just not what a sociopath is. They can have a tendency to move that direction, but just to make sure we know that a sociopath and a psychopath, they are not the same exact thing. They are not synonyms for one another. There are two different things that sometimes overlap. But anyway, getting off my soapbox, let's read the next quote. This is also Cole. If there's a god of this world, it's me. But even Zeus found mortals interesting from time to time. What a fucking arrogant ass. You think you're God now? I guess in his own world he is. He could do whatever he wants. And he does, even so much as like, I feel like killing this person, so I'm just going to do it because it makes me happy. And that's just what I want to do. And who's going to tell me no? I'm God anyway. And so that's what he says in relation to hanging out with Mara is she's a mortal that I just find interesting to pass the time with. And then he becomes obsessed with her. Not my idea of a sexy man, but here's a quote by Mara. All I've learned is that no amount of submission is good enough for a man. You can roll over, show your belly, beg for mercy, and they'll just keep hitting you because the very act of breathing is rebellious in the eyes of an angry male. What she honestly needs is therapy to deal with her past. And her mom is described as the one that was incredibly emotionally abusive. She seemed to not care at all about her daughter, and everything was just to her benefit, which is ironic that Mara is drawn to Cole, who everything he does for her is for his benefit. But I'm not here to diagnose Mara. I need to keep my armchair psychology to myself. But yeah, her stepdad would hit her and things like that. And so that's what she's like, an angry male. There's no appeasing them. And I'm like, oh man, girl, you're with the wrong dude. All right, this is Mara. First time she kisses Cole. This is what she has to say about it. I'm jolted awake, my brain opening up like a portal into the universe. I kiss him and I taste his mouth. I kiss him, not the mask, not the pretender. I taste the fucking animal. That's a great quote to explain what I mean by this book is written very artsy and my brain's opening like a portal to the universe. And this is Cole, and this completely describes why he's even intrigued with Mara, why he's deeming to interact with a mortal in his godlike stature. This is Cole. I'm starting to realize that what entices me about Mara is the contact high I get when I'm near her. She feels things so intensely that it makes me feel them too. So, very healthy relationship dynamic. Moving on to casting, because I do feel like I did really well on this casting. For Mara, I'm going with Christine Froseth. She was in The Buccaneers. She was in Looking for Alaska, and she was in a movie called The Assistant. Mara is described, again, because they're very heavy on description, very, very heavy on angles and lighting and things like that. Mara is described as having these pretty green eyes that are very slanted, and he loves that they're very slanted, and it gives her kind of an elvish appearance, and she's very, very tiny. She's got an energy and a stubbornness to her and this will to fight and will to survive, but she's, got a very almost childlike, elvish type of appearance with these slanted green eyes and pale skin. And, you know, she looks up at him and it makes her eyes look even more slanted. And he starts like really hyper fixating on her eyes and the extreme thinness of her body. And Christine Froseth has that look. She looks like an otherworldly pixie elf type. Very beautiful, beautiful eyes. She just really fits the whole vibe Mara gives off. And like this artist, incredibly vulnerable, but has like maybe a steely undercurrent. For Cole, I'm going with John Cartagena, and he is a Spanish supermodel first and foremost, and then he's also an actor. He was in some stuff. He was in A Single Man. He was in The Immortal, and Cole has a very strong appearance. He's got almost a swimmer's body, really tight muscles, really dark, heavy eyebrows. He says she describes that the only emotion he shows is through these eyebrows. I guess if he's doing that, I don't know. But he's got a very severe appearance and he always looks moody and like the angel of death. And so I feel like John has this like dominating presence. He's incredibly attractive and he's got full lips and he's got eyebrows. So like, I think he could pull off this look. And the contrast between her slight frame with the very delicate features and his like extreme strength, and he looks very rich and just severe, but still incredibly angelic and attractive. I think the contrast between the two would land perfectly for casting purposes. But like I said, I'm not watching this movie if it's made because I'm not into it. Okay, I think I've really given you exactly what I think about it. I will probably read the next book, but it's going to be lower on my TBR, honestly. It's going to be like, I've got nothing else. Let me go ahead and finish this out. I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a rush to do it. Let me know if you read it and you were just taken away. And if so, why? What did you like? What did you like? What did I miss? Please let me know. Maybe it is the second book is what really nails it. And just let me know. Should I continue it? Is the second book worth it? Does Shaw and Cole get together? Because I think that was what would make it interesting. If you've liked this episode, please like and subscribe, rate and review. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, stay spicy.
And that's it for this episode of Book Tease. Book and theme reveals and episode commentary can be found at TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Book Tease Pod. Theme music is by The Scraps, and until next time, stay spicy.